What's up everyone, welcome to another live stream. How is everyone doing? It's Wednesday, 2nd of October already. We are middle of the week and we are 2 days away from the NFP. Today was a different day. It was a little bit more of a ranging day. The market ended up doing what you predicted yesterday when you're looking at the dollar, for example. We saw the range, we saw the space to the upside, and price eventually moved there. The euro dollar is still a little bit away from that the same zone, but at the low, so that's something to bear in mind in here. In terms of news today, just to take a look into it, there was not really much going on. We had the ADP non-farm employment change, better than expected at 143, but there was not exactly a reaction or a big reaction to it, to be honest. We had crude oil inventories. That's interesting. We had a move to downside on oil after respecting that high, and after yesterday's big move to the upside when we had the situation in the Middle East with Iran attacking Israel. So that's still an ongoing situation. We will see what's going to happen. For sure, it's not going to stop. Unfortunately, it's actually going to continue, and we'll see how the market is going to react to it, especially commodities and oil in particular. What else do we have? Tomorrow we have unemployment claims in the US, and you have services PMI. Like, so you're going to have services PMI across Europe, UK, and then eventually in the US. The services, as we know, they have been better comparing with the manufacturing. So we'll see if this continues to be at least above 50 in expansion mode, or if there's any issues that's going to happen in there. Right, that's another reflection, another data that's going to help us to see the state of the economy across all these different countries. We have a CPI in Switzerland, and that's going to be interesting because we saw dollar franc Swiss actually broke the trend line to the upside. We'll see if it managed to close there above it or not. We've been waiting to see if there's going to be a move and a breakaway to the upside on dollar franc Swiss after spending so much time in this range at the lows. And then basically we are waiting, and let's see if tomorrow is going to be volatility or not. But the key point in here is going to be the NFP on Friday. So taking a look at the market, right? So this is where we were yesterday. All right, so we were somewhere in here after that big push to the upside. We stopped somewhere around this level. We had this structure in here, this high, and in reality we were looking for price to do that. Right, that was our prediction yesterday for the dollar, and the opposite on the euro dollar, on the pound, and so on. Even though, again, as I mentioned, on the euro dollar it was actually, the space was more clear. On the pound, not so much. But yes, we were looking for more bearish signs on across the dollar pairs and bullishness on the dollar. So there you go. We managed to go there. Basically reacted from that level in here, or we were about to react from it. And then the question mark is, are we going to break the highs, right? So now what's going to happen in here? That's basically the question mark. Is the dollar going to break above it, or is going to find some level of selves in here, basically support and not support, resistance, and is going to start moving to the downside? Again, the approach to the upside has been a little bit in compression way. We do have now this level that's been left behind. We do have this structure in here as well that maybe price can still hold basically in there. So that's a little bit of what we have. Price already reacted basically from this level, unless there's something in here as well. So that's actually the extreme, to be honest. Somewhere in here, but for now this is the one holding. So those are just a few levels in here on dollar franc Swiss, otherwise we may go down. So because the approach or the move to the upside, it hasn't really been that it has been strong, but with a lot of retracements, which makes them a little bit weak. One of two things needs to happen. Like, either we kind of find a little bit of, we create a zone by itself and then price free to go up, or what's going to happen is perhaps we're going to break the high and then have a deep retracement. All right, and maybe even react from maybe somewhere in here or whatever, or somewhere around this level before continue to move to the upside. All right, so that could be a potential solution in here, or a potential setup in here on the dollar index. We kind of managed to break this highs, that's true. We didn't manage to do that. Then you kind of fake out that level into that zone on the left that we have been talking about for a month now. And after that, again, I did mention that it was missing a little bit of this break when these highs were created. But now I think we are going to have actually, or I see the scenario of price breaking, like I'll attribute even higher than 50% that you're going to actually break the highs at this point. But tomorrow that's going to be the cool, right? Let's see how price is going to open tomorrow for the London session, and during the Asian session, let's see if there's going to be any updates in here to see if we're going to have a break to the upside. And if you do have that break, then it opens the door to go higher. So that's going to be the key point. If you do break above, then I can see price moving to the upside. Again, it doesn't mean that price will just move there in a straight line or respecting the breakout setup. That's one scenario, but it doesn't really mean that's going to happen. If that doesn't happen, then you may have something around this area, right, where we basically manage to break above this high. Otherwise, we actually may have a deeper retracement in here. All right, and that can happen after the break to the upside. So that's something to bear in mind in here on the dollar index. Even if you do break the highs, it doesn't mean that price will just gain momentum. It may not happen like that. All right, price may actually find some structure just in here on the left side, just above these highs, and they start maybe retracing and maybe getting somewhere in here. So that's going to be interesting to see. And if there's going to be even any momentum tomorrow and price is going to be somewhere else in preparation for the NFP, or if all the move for the NFP is going to be created around this level in here. All right, so that's going to be interesting. For example, something that could happen is actually we break it, right, and price maybe go a little bit higher. But if you start having some kind of walls being broken, all right, maybe with NFP you may have actually a move to the downside on the dollar, but then price could do this like next week or the days after. All right, so that's another scenario just to bear in mind. Price is respected this structure in here, and basically you have the next one a little bit higher than that. But that's going to be the key level in here on the dollar. So curious to see how price may react from this level in here. Yeah. Just checking. At this point, I don't really see any low being broken just yet. This low was broken just before price went higher. Maybe this one was broken already. So starting to know, maybe yes, maybe not. So starting to see some lows being broken on the way up. That's an important aspect as well. Okay, that's an important factor to start seeing if there is weakness. Like in order to look for the reversal, you need to see weakness. Sorry, we need to see weakness while price is moving upwards. If price keeps respecting every single demand zone or every single low, then we don't really see that weakness and price continues to just move to the upside. So those are just a few points in here to pay attention to. In terms of the indices and looking at the S&P, this was something that we mentioned yesterday. So there was this structure, basically that was the levels that we were looking for in here on the S&P. Basically price was creating this range. And yesterday we mentioned that price didn't really manage to break below that level, right? So that was something that didn't happen. Nasdaq actually broke it, but not the S&P. And I mentioned that maybe if price wants to go higher from here, then we could even have another fake out since you didn't really manage to break the lows. But now we actually managed to break it. Like this changes a little bit of the dynamic. I know it's just a small break. It's almost non-visible, but those actually tend to be the best in moves to the downside, because they are the ones that people are not going to really give that much importance, because price didn't even manage to close below that. So you can see it's just a weekend and price goes higher. And those are actually, at least for me personally, they tend to be the best ones, the ones that actually give a clear or a better information or clue from what I can expect next. Yes, price is still respecting that structure in there, basically in the same alignment with this low. But there you go, we have a break. Especially also another big aspect in here is when the engulf to downside is as quick as this. It's literally just a spike, right? It's just a spike and go. Like the way I interpret this information is that there is no absolute reason, or there is no reason whatsoever for price to actually break these lows. All right, if the intention is just to move to the upside. All right, this is how I see it. This is basically price opening the door to move to the downside. Otherwise, it will just keep respecting the lows and will just move higher naturally. If price actually does this, this is for me is an engulf to the downside. All right, so that's the way I see it. That's the way I usually look at this, and usually, again, as I mentioned, tend to be one of the best engulfs that I usually look for. So let's add the same as on Nasdaq. This for me is kind of an engulf down. Now, is price going to just react from the highs and that's it? Is the top in price? I'm not sure about that neither, right? So that's something to bear in mind as well. Price can still create one last high before moving to the downside, all right? Now, in here we have a double top at this point, and we have this level which is still fresh, all right? So we have this level which is still fresh, and that's nice. Price can respect that level and then move to downside. But because of this double top, I wouldn't really be surprised, or actually would prefer that if you actually have maybe one last fake out and then price moves to downside in here. Now we have this level, and you have, I think, something in here as well that's still fresh. So that's just something to bear in mind as price moves to the upside. Let's see if price actually moves to the upside from here. And next, let's see how price may react from that level. So we have one in here, and still the possibility of faking out this level and then moving to the downside. All right, so one of these three potential scenarios I'm looking for, and this engulf down is exactly what I wanted to see on the S&P. As I described before, Nasdaq had already broken that low, all right, and now it respected actually. So as you can see, this engulf down didn't really manage to break below this low in here, and there was no need. Actually just respected the left shoulder, and actually this is the opposite of what I usually like to see in terms of when price actually breaks over but then respects perfectly the left shoulder. That's kind of a bullish sign, to be honest, which means that maybe you can even have one last high being created before the push down. However, in here I still like this level, all right, because price what created is, at this point, price just reacted from this level in the middle. So the structure was created in the middle and not at the extreme within the highs, or at the highs, right? So that's something to bear in mind in here on Nasdaq. So yeah, I would like it to continue to move to the upside. If it wants to create even one last low, it could, but now it could go maybe slightly higher and maybe have a reaction from one of these two levels that are already marked in here, right? These are already the levels that I'm looking for, and eventually for price also to go all the way and maybe close this gap in here. So those are just a few, again, the levels that I'm looking for on Nasdaq. Today it was more of a range, and again, as you can see, the interesting part of in here broke yesterday, and on S&P it broke today. Then you have Dow. Dow at this point, it's not exactly the US indices that I'm more interested in looking for to trade. I want to see a little bit more of PA, maybe another manipulation to the upside before actually looking for shorts. But you can maybe look for shorts as well. But it's not exactly the one that I'm going to be spending much time looking at. I prefer a little bit more what I can see now on S&P and Nasdaq. Then you have DAX, right? DAX made that move to downside as well today. This was something that you mentioned, exactly in that line, in alignment with this level. So perfect reaction from that level in here. So it filled all this space in here. We mentioned that yesterday price paused in there. There was still a little bit more room to the downside, and now it actually reached that level, and if not mistaken, actually managed to break it, right? So we actually managed to break, which means that maybe we can continue to the downside. Price as this level next in here, where it can eventually go retest from, and it also has this previous level support resistance, which basically it's more or less where it reacted at this point. So there's maybe a little bit more room to downside in here on the DAX. Nice move as well. We have all this structure, kind of a double top as well. And yeah, these are basically a few levels in here that we can potentially look for price to react from as well. Moving along, looking at crypto a little bit. So again, continues to push to the downside. It filled out this price in here, Bitcoin in here. So again, I could still see continue to, again, if it breaks this low, it opens literally the door to go further down. If it respects this structure in here, it could resume to move to the upside, right? So for me, actually, this structure here is quite important. I know that we already broke below this low. This was actually the important structure, in my opinion, that kind of separates between what's going on in here and what's going on in here. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. Basically, price now testing that level, Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen in there. And Ethereum as well, just resuming the move to downside again. Something's going on because price just created the it's creating a lot of volatility in here, or momentum at least. All right, so again, I'm looking for Ethereum now to fill this space, right? So it returned from those highs, start breaking the structure, broke these walls as well, and I'm looking for Ethereum to get a little bit at least closer to this zone in there. So I can, yeah, and then from here, perhaps can look for a move to the upside, and so on, kind of moving the same way. Now looking at this Euro index and then the Yen index, right? So Euro index managed to keep respecting this level in here. That's basically where we were, if not mistaken, yesterday, just retesting these lows. I'm still looking for eventually more bearish pressure in here. I would like to see price navigating more to the downside, getting closer to this level. So that's still my target in here on Euro index. So there you go. Let's see if price actually managed to take these lows or not from here. Yep, so that's something to bear in mind. Something to pay attention to. Again, price of course can respect and can go higher. Maybe can react from some of this level in here. Like I'm not going to disregard that level neither. The Yen index, actually, there you go. We managed to respect that level, which means that Euro Yen, Dollar Yen, Pound Yen, and so on went to the upside. So Dollar index, Yen index actually managed to respect it, and now it's moving to the downside. And this one in here, as you can see, it's already a break of a low. It even broke that low as well. So that move could actually be an move to downside and price to create momentum to go lower. Okay, then you had the retest, perfect reaction from the supply, and then we just moved in here. Unfortunately, the way I looked at the other yen pairs, I didn't really see kind of this structure as the same way as a good bottom on the other yen pairs, so I actually didn't really went long, neither yesterday in the evening or kind of today. Because I didn't really like them. The yen index actually it was a little bit better in terms of the zones that was respecting in here. On the other side, it never really reacted from a little bit more of the extreme. I just fake out that level and they start moving to downside, and it continues. Like the sell pressure continues in here, and I'm going to be curious to see what's going to happen next. Like if it's going to find some level of support in here at these lows, like we have that demand zone that created this strong push to the upside. That was basically 1 week ago. So that's going to be the next key level in here on the end. So most likely during the Asian session, you're going to have some move, potentially price approaching this level. The price at this point looks like it's quite weak. Price is just moving down. I don't really see kind of price still breaking highs. We don't really even have a proper structure in here to see a high being broken in order before a potential reversal in here, right? So we don't really have that at this point. Price is just moving, compressing. Eventually can even go a bit towards that zone in here. 1 second. Yeah, but yes, depending on how the yen index may react from here, sorry, the yen index, we may start looking eventually for longs in here or not. So that's going to be the key mark, is how price is going to react around this level. Key point is that we don't really have a proper move to the upside, to be honest. Price just respected this structure, so we may actually continue because the break is actually to the downside at this point. So that's a key level in here to pay attention on the yen index. All right, so now looking for the individual currency pairs. Let's take a look at them, right? So again, euro dollar, a little bit more sell pressure. So as I mentioned, I was looking to see price getting there. So basically today it's spent the day in here. I'm not the strongest in terms of looking for these continuation setups in the middle, especially when everything is compressed. But this was actually a nice potential move that you could have looked for on the euro dollar, and I do see more downside, at least to retest somewhere within this demand zone again, with the potential or the possibility for price to even continue to move down, right? But let's see how price may react from here first, and then you'll see what's going to happen next, because this low is already kind of a break of that one. Yes, you did manage to fake out this high in there, but it was still a reaction into this level in there, so there's not exactly an engulf the upside. Is basically just PA, which can be a part of price turning. So that's something to bear in mind in here as well. So, and question mark, are you going to have a momentum in here and eventually break the lows and then a turn, or it's going to be literally just momentum? So one of the two things can happen, right? Maybe price can even go there one more time and then push lower, but that's the question mark. Like, what kind of PA are you going to have in here? Are you going to have a turn from around this level, or is price or is price going to break the lows? Again, breaking the lows opens the door to go further down, but maybe can break the low and reverse straight away. That's another possibility, right? You can break it and retest something in here. So that's another possibility at this point. Or price will just break and then just continue. And all of a sudden you're going to feel all this compression, and the next level is somewhere around this level what we're going to be looking for. All right, so that's basically the three scenarios I can see in here on the euro dollar, and it's going to be interesting for tomorrow. Yeah, so this one will open the door to go further down. So yeah, this one still bearish. All right, same thing with in here for a continuation, but maybe before that we could have a retracement. Looking at pound dollar, as I mentioned, the low, it was reacting from okay level. Again, I continue to see more downside in here. Basically, just broke this important low, and price today got really close to level ahead. Maybe that was enough in here. Now we're testing the lows. We'll see what's going to happen as well. Like, let's see if we're going to have a little bit of retracement more to the upside, or price will just continue. Like, and all of a sudden you see price filling all this price in here as well. So that's something to bear in mind in here on the pound dollar, as price basically just broke, retest, and potentially can continue to move lower. Yeah, I'm not really touching pound dollar at this point in here. Euro pound, which is still kind of ranging within this level, so I'm still curious to see how price may react from that level. Again, we are really close at these lows in here, so I'm curious to see how price may navigate towards that level. At this point, the pressure is still to the downside, even though we're starting to break these mid-range highs in here, but I still would like to see that last push in there. Aussie dollar continue to move a bit more to the downside as well, so that's basically where we were yesterday. Price retraced a little bit, even managed to break in here. I was looking for price to get a little bit closer to the extreme, never really happened in there. Again, we have a strong compression. Eventually price could have a little bit of a retracement to the downside, but in the bigger picture I'm still a bit more bullish, to be honest. I'd like to see eventually Aussie dollar to go a bit more to the upside, but for now I'm going to play what I can see in here a bit more within this structure, and at this point I could still see price going further down in here. Yeah, so again, another ranging day in here on the Aussie. Looking at New Zealand, a bit more bearish, as you can see. Yeah, New Zealand actually is creating more lows. Again, that low initially respected, but as you mentioned, it was already broken on the way up, which means that this one is weak, and then all of a sudden you're looking for the next structure, and aside from that, a lot of this has been compressed as well. All right, so much of these zones in here, they have been compressed, which means that they are weak, which means that New Zealand actually can eventually just continue to move lower. Now there's maybe some structure in there that price can eventually look for around here. We'll see what's going to happen below these lows. Otherwise, price is almost free to go all the way until potentially this level as well. Yeah, but it looks like it's just weak, moving to downside after breaking that important high in there on the left. Yeah, so if you're a trend continuation trader, maybe you can look for it. Now, this may be an important low, and after that maybe have a little bit more of a deep retracement towards here before moving to the downside again. Yeah, we'll see, right? Because this could be part of the of the Quasimodo in here on the bigger picture. Like, and all of a sudden you could maybe take that one, eventually turn, right, to test something like that, and eventually go somewhere in here and then just move. Like, so that will be another potential scenario. EURUSD, that's another one. So again, waiting for price to take these lows and get some kind of reaction from this level, and if price does react, then we may have the turn. Again, the compression is quite strong at this point, as you can see in here on the EURUSD. So if you do turn, maybe the move can happen quite quickly. So that's something to bear in mind in here. But let it go. I still want to see price actually taking these lows and maybe some reaction to be expected in there. Otherwise, price will just move further down. Like, if not from here, then you're going to go further down, and eventually you can have a turn from somewhere in here. Yeah. Yep, that looks interesting. A pound Aussie also continue to move downside. Again, as I mentioned, pound Aussie, you could continue to go lower. Again, a lot of compression here, but I don't think that price is at a good level to start turning completely. So there's maybe a bit more room to downside. It's curious to see how price may react within this gap. Price hasn't really reacted from it. And aside from that, just continue to move slightly lower. Then we start looking at the yen pairs, right? And we go into the Aussie yen. So there you go, the push to the upside in here. As I mentioned, some of the yen pairs, kind of that low was kind of in the middle of nothing, and I didn't really like it in order to look for longs in here on the retest. It is what it is. We did manage to break those highs, so again, the continuation here on the Aussie yen was a bit natural. And I'm going to be curious, to be honest. I'm going to be tracking to see if there's opportunities to look for retracements on the yen pairs. All right, so again, I'm a counter trend trader, so as price continues to go higher, maybe some exhaustion. Also paying attention how the yen index is going to react from those lows at the month zone. So that's going to be something that I want to pay attention to. Maybe there's opportunities in there to look for a trade. So long yen, which means short Aussie yen, dollar yen, and so on. So again, we start looking a bit more to the left side to see where's maybe the next one in here that can hold price. So those are just a few zones in there, and eventually price can even navigate more to the upside in here as well. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Again, we just took this high. All right, so yeah, that's one of them. Dollar yen also basically retesting that supply level, exactly the same level that I'm going to be looking for on the yen index. But price can just continue, right? Again, as we mentioned, dollar yen didn't really retrace all the way back in here, just pause in the middle and then just gain momentum again today to the upside. Interesting move, basically creating this structure and then broke and went to the upside. Like, and yes, I'm looking to see this dollar yen breaking this high, getting maybe a bit closer to that level or eventually into that zone in here. This level in here is actually where euro yen already reacted. All right, euro yen already broke completely this level. It already reacted from that extreme in here, as you'll see in a bit. But maybe around this level, there's maybe something that this dollar yen can react from. So dollar yen at this point reacted from this lower edge. Yeah. So let's see. Price is reacting from here. It's a great supply level, but maybe there's something else in here a little bit higher where price can go to, right? Maybe somewhere above this level, somewhere around this zone in here, where price can also react as soon as it takes perhaps this high in here. But that's something also to pay attention to in here. Yeah, in the higher time frame, there's maybe that one. Yeah, we'll see. That's definitely something to pay attention. Let me just set up an alert in here to see how price may eventually react from it. Now euro yen, right? So euro yen is still a bit far away from that level. As I mentioned, euro yen already reacted from here, from here, right? Dollar yen reacted from this level. Euro yen already reacted from that extreme. But again, this was the one actually. This was actually quite nice. I was looking for that level in here. I wanted to get long in here straight away. I didn't really like this level to for a long again, because I didn't really like this low as a zone to turn. I like it as a first touch, not as a second one. So I kind of avoided any longs in there. But nice move on the euro yen. Again, just continues to move to the upside. And I'm curious to see how price may even react from around this structure. So this was a previous demand zone that price which we broke through. And there's a little bit of structure in there. So I'm going to be curious to see how euro yen may react from that level. That's one of the levels that maybe can react from. And then we can look even higher to see how price may eventually react from those left shoulders, like a little bit closer to this high. So those are just a couple of levels in here. Pay attention on the euro yen. It all starts actually from here, which price is already starting to lose a little bit of momentum. Yeah, this is just something to bear in mind. This kind of a separation in there. So yeah, euro yen and the yen pairs for tomorrow. We'll see. Like again, another big move up. Maybe we can have some options to look for ourselves, especially again if the yen index actually respects that low. Yeah, pound yen actually could have been the best one in terms of a long in here. This is reacting from this structure. It's much better than the euro yen comparing, and then it reacted actually perfectly from this quasi-model level in here. So and then it just turned. Right, so that this actually was quite a nice one. It's approaching also the same structure in there on the euro yen. So let's see how price may react from it. In the bigger picture, it may continue to even go, even though it was kind of an interesting reaction from this level in here. So yeah, let's see how price may react from that level in here. Otherwise, it may just be a continuation to the upside, in which you can even go higher. Somewhere in here, it's also interesting. Look for, but before that, definitely we have something in here. Like again, we have the same supply level as in now the NPRs around that level, right? Something to bear in mind. But before that, we may have something else. And the something else is just try to see any previous demand zone that should have respected price, but it didn't. There's a range in here as well. Yeah, so that's definitely something to pay attention. All right, now CAD pairs. Like so, good turnaround in here on the dollar CAD, reacting now from the lower edge of this level. We'll see what's going to happen in here. So we started to create actually this P8. Again, didn't really pay attention to this one. It was really good, to be honest. So we broke to the upside and fake out the lows. And now price is moving to the upside again. A lot of compression, maybe not exactly the best. I was actually more following the euro CAD and pound CAD, which finally managed to break those levels of structure. So at this point, euro dollar CAD may react from that level again. Maybe can do this again, and eventually can even go somewhere around here. All right, so those are just a few zones in here. Yeah, a few zones in here at the extreme that I'm looking for. Then you have euro CAD. Right, so euro CAD actually managed to break finally. Again, we have been bearish for a long time. We mentioned about this engulf down, even when price was moving in here or in there. So we mentioned that definitely this low, similar to the one in the S&P, this was an engulf to the downside. Beautifully done. And now finally price respect. Like we had the deep retracement first, and then we also noticed this engulf to downside as well. There is one in there. Super small, but it was there as well. We're gonna track that. Yeah, it was this one. So we had two engulfs and then price just moved, right? And finally we made that move, and then it reacted literally with the next structure that was still fresh. This literally this demand zone in here. This one respecting the upper edge, and this one it was fresh. So price is retracing a little bit after breaking the lows. Again, this is just opening door to go further down. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting this euro CAD to continue to push lower. in here. All right, so this is the second time that is breaking the low, so looking more for a momentum setup, so perhaps creating a little bit of some, respecting some kind of structure in there to continue to move forward in here. All right, so we'll see if that's going to happen or not. If price starts breaking a little bit above these levels, then start looking into the next zone. Yeah, overall at this point, I could see price eventually filling this range, getting closer to this structure. Yeah, let's see. Pound CAD. Right, pound CAD did exactly the same thing as well, right? So we were looking for price to go, didn't really like this level, and that was the next level in here, right? This previous level, support resistance as well, with a clean demand zone, beautiful reaction that we had in here. So price just fake out this level, and there you go, right? We start creating this structure as well. So we talked about this level in here as well, so good reaction, price moved down, and it filled the space. Like the next space available was definitely this level. That's exactly where price end up reacting from. So now we'll see. Again, it's an engulf down, so perhaps price does want to continue to move forward, but let's see what kind of confirmation or PA we are going to have eventually to continue to look for shorts at this point. Our franc Swiss, this is the one. So we mentioned about this strong trend line. Price just broke it finally. All right, so we broke the trend line. Of course, it still needs to break some highs in here, but he managed to break the trend line. Again, this is so spiky and kind of a bit far away any kind of stop loss at this point. So what I want to see is some structure. Okay, I want to see some level of structure at around one of these two levels. Even above that high as well, or somewhere around this level, and try to see some kind of PA around this level that's going to eventually lead for the momentum trade that we may have in here. All right, eventually to fill all of this. So that's what I'm going to be following in here on the dollar franc Swiss. I think there's going to be an interesting opportunity to look for a good long. I just want to see a little bit more of a clear PA. That's going to also tell me that maybe this is the moment that we are going to start with this momentum to the upside in here. All right, but in the bigger picture, there you go, we had this big turnaround, this break in here to the of this trend line. So that's interesting, and now we may have that move. All right, so let's see if we're going to have something. It is almost a retest in there, to be honest. Yeah, something like that could eventually happen. Looking at gold, continues to be within this range, right? So at this point, this is where what we have. There's a little bit of liquidity above, or level above these highs in here that maybe price can still react from. So that's something to bear in mind. Basically, gold respecting that level in there. So we'll see what's going to happen in here, in the middle. Again, it's subjective to volatility depending on what's going on in the world and the situation in the Middle East. Silver as well, basically retested this level one more time. It's still within the same range, again respecting also this demand zone, respected that level today. So instant buy as well, kind of just taking the orders within the range. And then we have oil, right? And oil was the one, interesting enough, right? Really good reaction from the highs, right? So yesterday it was a big move to the upside. Price basically filled that space. And we had this big rectangle in here that you can see that price basically created in the past. We have that fake out. Now we have this one in here into that level, and now the reaction into there. Like, interesting enough, we talked about that one, that price in this case, oil, crude oil was already reacting from that level. However, Brent didn't, right? Brent was still a little bit further down. And because of that, when you actually look at Brent actually managed to break this high just to react from that level in here on the left side, and then it moved to downside. Like, just interesting enough, the levels. Okay, it's important to pay attention to the levels where price is reacting, especially also when you're looking at the correlated assets. Just the same way with the dollar, with the Nasdaq and the S&P in terms of the break of the low, right? S&P didn't break the low yesterday, it broke today. So Nasdaq broke yesterday, so it didn't manage to break today's low, or yesterday's low. All right, so that's interesting. Again, good PA at the highs, and price just turned. We'll see. We mentioned that as well, that maybe oil would find some level of kind of a range, create a range around this 66 to 72, 73 mark. And maybe that's where we're going to be at until we find more info about what's going on as well, especially in the Middle East. So yeah, so that's exactly what we have in here. So just to give the example of Brent, right, there you go. Brent actually managed to break above these highs. We mentioned that one as well, that wanted even for price to go slightly higher to react where from. There you go. Right, as you can see, this high in here never reacted from that level. So it went there now. And crude oil didn't really react from it. Right, so that was the interesting part in here. Now price now is reacting from both of these falls, right? So in both crude oil and Brent, price is reacting from the same in here. So we'll see, right? There's maybe more sell opportunity if price goes a little bit more to the upside and retest. Is price going to be just trending within this range? We'll see, right? Brent, in one case, price actually managed to is breaking above highs, right? So it may actually start opening the door to do something like this, because price actually is managing to break some highs in there. Definitely that maybe can still come back all the way until here. This move was quite aggressive, so maybe price still wants to push one more time closer to this level before it goes higher. So that's a possibility as well, right? So we may continue to trade within this range, maybe some reaction from here, or eventually some reaction from there as well. And it goes exactly the same way for crude oil, right? So basically looking for these two levels in here for price to trade from. Like even the extremes, right? The extreme is actually still left behind, something that something that actually I was looking for, to be honest, before this long in there. With that being said, that's the conclusion of the stream. So just to recap on what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow. In terms of news, we have unemployment claims and services PMI. So maybe there's a little bit of volatility to expect in the afternoon with the US news in there. So we'll see. However, we have NFP on Friday, right? So before NFP day, sometimes price can just range or kind of not really move that much. On the other side, sometimes we actually have the opposite. Sometimes we actually have a lot of momentum for price to go into a new level and then to trade differently or to find new structure which is going to bring new buyers or sellers into the market, depending on which asset you are looking for, that price can trade from for the NFP, right? So one of those two scenarios, that's something that I'm going to be looking at. So what I'm going to exactly look at, right? So I'm going to be looking at dollar index. That's the key level, all right? Because dollar index now is reacting, because dollar index at this point is at this high. So yesterday we were looking for price to fill this range, and that's it. It's done at the highs. And then question mark is, are you going to break the highs, indicating that you want to go higher or not? And or price is going to just keep respecting now this level of supply and start and the sellers are going to start jumping into the market in here. Even if you break the highs, it doesn't mean that price will just move to the upside as a breakout setup. Maybe price will just fake out and start pushing lower, and only maybe next week or during the NFP we are going to resume the move and break and follow to move to the upside. So that's the question mark in here on the dollar index. A similar scenario on the euro dollar, but at the lows. Is price going to break the lows, or is going to find some support at that demand level, and we are going to find some buyers on the euro? So that those two are going to be the assets that I'm going to be paying attention to, especially tomorrow morning during the London session. I think that's going to be there's going to be opportunities in there. The yen pairs, I'm really curious to see if the yen index is going to respect this low in here or not, and if it does, all right, if it does, maybe there's some sell opportunities that you can find across the yen pairs, euro yen, dollar yen, pound yen, and so on. So that's something to bear in mind. Again, I'm just expecting a small retrace because this low actually broke this major structure, which is already basically the highs respected the highs, so we have a double top and you have new lows being created, right? Even this value in here respected perfectly that supply level, which means that it looks like that you are more in a bearish trend at this point, or about to start one. So even a small reaction from this demand zone may create some movement, but I'm not going to be really expecting the yen index to just completely turn bullish from here. Alright, so it will be just a more intraday setup on the end pairs. Then you have the indices. Quite curious to see if we're going to go and start moving to the upside. As I mentioned, this low in here, this low created in here on the S&P today looks more of an engulf to the downside. So I'm curious to see how price may react from the highs. I could still even see a new high being created before a push to the downside. Nasdaq broke that low yesterday, as you mentioned, and so the story now is basically the same, with the difference that Nasdaq still has the highs, they are still fresh. S&P, they are not. So those are just a few levels in here that I'm looking for price to eventually react from, the ones that I have marked in here. And oil, I'm curious as well about oil, because we are now within this range. We had a big move to the upside yesterday. Today now we are correcting a little bit, and I could see oil maybe ranging in between the $66 mark until 72, 73, where we are with the highs. So we'll see if that's going to happen or not, or if it's just perhaps going to break to the upside. Again, the situation in the Middle East is going to be a catalyst to see what's going to happen in the commodities, in oil in particular. And that's it basically in terms of the key levels that I'm looking for. Again, the CAD pairs made that big push to the downside. I'm talking about pound CAD, euro CAD. Maybe we can have a little bit of a correction, but overall I'm still bearish in those assets. And Aussie, the Aussie pairs, that's one that I'm looking for as well, because I'm curious to see what the euro yen is going to do. Not euro yen, euro Aussie is going to do after taking these lows. There's maybe a correction to the upside that you can expect, and that could push also Aussie dollar to the downside as well. So yeah, that's basically it. If you are new, guys, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going live every day at 7 p.m. to do my pre-market analysis, to look at what I'm expecting for tomorrow. I think it's beneficial. Again, preparation is a big factor for everyone that is trying to be consistent and win in trading. So feel free to join. What's up, Miguel? Welcome, man. Long time no see. So yeah, feel free to join. And yeah, how are you? I was about to finish the stream. Are you still there? Yeah, okay, still there. Yeah, I'm good as well. I'm good. Just finished the stream. I'm ready to go watch Benfica now against Athletic. It's time to watch some Champions League. Yeah, nice opportunities. Again, the end of the year, I think is going to be quite volatile. A lot of movement, a lot of volatility. We have the US election, we have Fed rate cuts, so yeah, many things ahead. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen and how it's going to play out. So, and if you are getting into a new trend in here with the perhaps bullish dollar, indices maybe starting to move to the downside. Yeah, crypto still undecided between this 60k, 70k. I'm talking about Bitcoin. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, so let's watch Benfica, man. We talk again tomorrow if you want to join the stream, and we can talk about whatever we are trading and analyze some charts together. All right. So again, thank you guys. Thank you, Miguel. I'll see you tomorrow. And I hope Benfica wins, right? Hopefully. Let's go.